Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to unpack what is arguably the most chaotic, transformative, and frankly, unbelievable week of AI news we've seen in a very long time. I mean, in the span of just a few days, the entire foundation of artificial intelligence has dramatically shifted. We aren't just talking about a slightly faster chatbot or a new interface here. No, we're looking at 13 rapid-fire updates that are completely redefining how work gets done, how our biology is understood, and honestly, the massive new security vulnerabilities that are keeping executives awake at night. The information we're distilling today shows an industry that has fundamentally evolved.
So let's just dive right in. Until now, AI has largely been a passive tool, right? You ask it a question, it gives you an answer, and then it just waits. But what happens when the AI stops just talking and starts acting on its own? What happens when it becomes a truly autonomous system? Because that is exactly the leap the technology took this week. To make sense of all this madness, we've structured this explainer into 5 key themes: the new intelligence race, AI as your teammate, the new security threat, rewriting code and biology, and finally, the next visual frontier. Just to give you a sense of the stakes here, the contrast is staggering. AI last year was all about single tasks. You gave a prompt, you got an output. But AI this week? It's about autonomous teammates. We are talking about systems that can spin up to 300 simultaneous workers to tackle different parts of your project at the exact same time. One prompt can now produce finished websites, slide decks, spreadsheets, and documents all at once. The scale has completely changed.
All right, part 1, the new intelligence race, the foundation shifts.
You know, if you thought the West had sole ownership over this technology, this week proved otherwise. Look at K2.6 out of China. In a massive surprise, it's free, it's open source, and it's beating Western models on some of the hardest knowledge tests in existence. It can code for over 12 hours straight and deploy those 300 simultaneous AI workers we just talked about. Then we have OpenAI's new GPT 5.5, which no longer needs you to handhold it. It plans its own steps, checks its own work, and finishes complex, multi-part jobs completely autonomously. And finally, Elon Musk's XAI quietly dropped Grok 4.3, which doesn't just write, it builds. It generates fully populated Excel sheets, downloadable PDF reports, and can even process full video. These foundation models have drastically leapfrogged older capabilities in a matter of days.
Moving on to part 2. AI as your teammate, from chatbot to active worker. So how are these massive models actually being used? Well, they're being integrated directly into our daily tools, transforming AI from a chatbot into an active worker. Anthropic just turned their Claude AI into a dynamic, living workspace with a feature called Live Artifacts. Instead of those static charts that go completely stale the second you generate them, Claude can now build interactive dashboards connected to your real-time data. You can prompt it to create a daily command center, and it will immediately probe the connectors to your Gmail, Calendar, and Slack, populating a sleek dashboard with live information. Plus, Claude's desktop app has basically become a universal remote. You can actually swap out Anthropic's engine and plug in specialized or localized AI models so your data never even leaves your laptop.
OpenAI took this a whole step further with ChatGPT workspace agents. You can now describe a job in plain English, and ChatGPT will spin up an autonomous agent that lives right inside your tools. It monitors your product feedback channel in Slack, answers questions, checks new issues in Linear, and drafts team emails. And it does this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So when a user reports a bug at 2 a.m., your AI agent files the ticket and drafts the summary before a human even opens their laptop. You are literally delegating work to software.
Which brings us to part 3, the new security threat, the dark side of autonomy.
Look, treating AI as an autonomous employee introduces incredibly severe vulnerabilities. Take Vercel, for example. They're a massive $9.3 billion company, the invisible engine behind OpenAI's website, Nike, and Walmart. Yet they were just breached. Hackers didn't attack Vercel's heavy security directly. Nope. Instead, one employee installed a tiny AI productivity tool and clicked Allow all permissions to connect it to Google Workspace. That one single click opened the door. The hackers bypassed multi-factor authentication, walked right into internal systems, and stole API keys and the data of 580 employees, data that is now selling online for $2 million. AI is the new door into your company, and hackers know it. At the same time, the tools themselves are getting unprecedented access to our data. OpenAI just shipped an experimental feature inside Codex called Chronicle.
It quietly takes periodic screenshots of your computer screen in the background to build a memory of what you've been working on, open files, error messages, project layouts. This allows the AI to fix a bug you saw hours ago without you having to explain the context. Now, it is strictly opt-in, and the screenshots are processed locally and deleted after 6 hours. But as you can imagine, this has sparked massive privacy discussions because the AI is literally reading sensitive information off our screens. It highlights a huge tension right now between incredible utility and deep privacy concerns.
Let's pivot to part 4, rewriting code and biology, real-world miracles. Setting the risks aside for a second, we really can't ignore the sheer scale of the benefits here. We are seeing real-world miracles, starting with DNA. $3 billion. That is what it historically costs to sequence the human genome. And it used to take 13 years for hospitals to read this DNA, which is absolutely vital for knowing how a patient will process common medicines or what inherited disease risks they carry. $3 billion and 13 years.
Now compare that to this, $1,100. This week, a man decoded his own DNA at home in just 4 hours using a USB-sized device plugged into his laptop. An AI model inside translated his DNA into readable letters. What used to require a massive hospital infrastructure can now be done at your kitchen table with artificial intelligence. It's just wild. And reading DNA is only half the battle. Understanding it is the hard part. Google DeepMind's Alpha Genome is now decoding what scientists used to call junk DNA to make predictions on how human DNA sequences impact disease risks. But it's not just our biological code being rewritten, it's our software code too. Cursor AI, which is the editor most engineers use right now, just partnered with SpaceX to access a supercomputer with roughly 1 million equivalent GPUs. In return, SpaceX gains the right to acquire Cursor for up to $60 billion. The infrastructure builders have realized that whoever owns the tool engineers code in basically owns the next decade of software. Finally, part 5. The next visual frontier, ChatGPT Images 2.0.
This is where things get really sci-fi. Visual generation has evolved far beyond making simple, pretty pictures. It has evolved into complex reasoning. ChatGPT Images 2.0 is achieving feats that were previously impossible. Like in a design for a flyer, it can generate a functional QR code that you can actually scan with your phone. It can render grammatically correct Japanese text with proper reading flow in a manga panel. It can create a 6-image brand campaign, flyers, record sleeves, wine labels, maintaining perfect character lighting and object continuity across all of them. And in a completely mind-bending display of logic, if you feed it a dense 64-frame grid, it can use Python in its thinking process to calculate the coordinates, isolate just frame number 40, crop it cleanly, and upscale it to a 16:9 aspect ratio. It's acting as a self-aware image editor. But the true breakthrough here is all about instruction following. A user gave the AI a highly specific prompt, create an image of a woman making word art. But crucially, the user instructed that she must be holding the word few in her left hand and the phrase 1,000 words in her right hand. Now, every AI model over the last 2 years has failed at rendering hands and text simultaneously, but this model, it nailed it perfectly. Both hands correct, specific words in the correct specific hands, and that proves something profound. Instruction following is the actual product now. Anyone can generate a generic picture, but an AI that follows complex logic down to the precise hand and word, that is a real game changer. Wow, okay, we've covered a massive amount of ground today. From foundation models that can manage 300 simultaneous workers, to AI agents that manage your Slack while you sleep, to decoding DNA at home, and visual tools that literally think in code. The productivity gains are staggering. But, as we saw with that Vercel hack, this autonomy brings unprecedented vulnerabilities. So, I want to leave you with this question. As you integrate these incredible advancements, is your company ready for its newest, most powerful, and undeniably most vulnerable employee? Take that thought with you, apply these insights, and thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning and stay focused.